Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I'm going to review some new Shelly products. And actually I'm going to review a few of them because I think they really go together very well. The first of all, we are going to look at this Shelly Plus i4, and this is very similar to an earlier product. There was an i3, I think it was just called Shelly i3, and that had free inputs, so you can connect just a normal switch or push buttons, whatever, to it, and it was only working as inputs. It had no relay in it, so you would set up some sort of rules to control other Shelly devices. So now we have the newer generation of that. So this is one of the Plus line, so we'll have all the features that the Plus line has, which I've reviewed in a separate video, but it is i3, so it has 4 inputs, as you can see on the sales screen. So basically it would be able to control 4 different inputs. And for that, I've also received this switch, which, well, happens to have 4 different inputs. And of course, there are more different models available here. And these are just really small push buttons. And they also come with a frame, and that will mount the Shelly right next to it. So it's not going to just, flap around in a breeze in your wall socket. And there is also this very nice frame which goes around here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how you set up this Shelly i4, how you're going to wire it with this switch unit, and then, of course, how you can do some configuration and some online settings. And if I look at the Shelly website for the i4, as you can see, it's only pre-order at the moment. So maybe if you're going to look at it in a couple of weeks, it's only going to be in production and in general purchase. But that's the idea. It has 4 switches, so you can either use this switch that Shelly provided, or maybe if you have more traditional switches and you happen to have 4 at the same location, you can just hook all of them up into a single Shelly i4. And I think here for the rest, we will see the usual functionalities for any Plus devices. So yeah, it works on Wi-Fi. It also has Bluetooth. And probably something which is unique to this Shelly. I mean, we have seen that most of the Shellys, of course, they are universal AC voltage, so 110 to 240, but this only works on mains voltage. So most of the other Shellys, or at least the ones that I've tested, they also can operate on DC, but this is only an AC unit. And it supports 12 possible actions, and I'm assuming that this is going to be similar for the previous one. So it would support long press, short press, double press, triple press, and of course, well, probably not triple press, but long, short, and double, and that for all 4 inputs. So that's like 12 possible actions altogether. And it has all the enhanced security and the scripting functions as most of the Plus product. So we are going to see that later on as I'm going to set up this device. And I'm just going to scroll through. Yeah, you see 1 click, 2 clicks, and then 1 long click that is supported for each of these switches. Shelly has different Wi-Fi bulb products, so I think this i4 is going to be ideal for these lights, because then you don't need a separate relay. You can just set up the link between these devices, and the i4 would be able to control them directly. Or for example, you can see a scenario here where you would use the buttons to, let's say, to turn the lights off, and the other 3 buttons can be used to also control or set that light to a set brightness. And you would set up the webhooks to do that. And also we are going to look at quickly how this wall switch is going to look like. So as you can see, I've received the version which has 4 buttons, but you can see on the website that there is a single button, there is a 2 gang, and there is also a 4 gang version. And you can buy the the back plate, or sorry, the frame and the back, and of course the buttons separately. So you can see in this animation how this is all going to look together. And you probably have noticed, especially with the 2 other Shelly Plus devices that I've reviewed recently, then nowadays they appear to be in the same sort of like this physical design, which means that this holder would be able to not just hold the i4, but all of the Shelly devices which has the same sort of layout, or the same sort of like this rectangular wedge shape. And you can see the wiring here. And you can also, if you click here, you can see all the different dimensions for this. But I believe that this is suitable for the regular European wall socket. Okay, so this is also pre-order at the moment. Actually, I'm not sure what are the different frames you would be able to purchase for these. Because I mean, I have received the one which has a really short, small Shelly logo, but on the ones on the website doesn't have any logo at all. Maybe that's going to be optional in the future. And if I quickly review the contents, I mean, as I said, this is just basically, 4 micro switches built into like an enclosure and a nice design. So this is really, really minimal. It doesn't have any, depth to it. So there is enough space left for this mount, which is going to clip in here. And then the Shelly is going to go into this mount. So everything is going to be very compact, and it's not going to take up more space than a regular switch. And of course, then you would be able to clip this frame onto the top, and that's how the whole unit is going to look like. And by the way, for the for this whole switch, there is a fairly detailed documentation, and it goes into the configuration, sorry, not a configuration, but a wiring of this unit based on the various Shellys, and whether you have the 1 gang, the 2 gang, or a 3 gang version. So everything is nicely detailed in here. And you even get an example of how you can use it with, like in a 2-way configuration. And that's the one I'm going to configure here. So the 4 buttons and the Shelly i4. And on the second side, you're getting the same, but the text is in different languages. And for the Shelly i4, you are also receiving some documentation. And here you can see the wiring diagram. There is only a single wiring diagram. As I said, it only works on mains voltage. It doesn't work on DC. And of course, it's not a big document because you are seeing the same stuff 6 different times, which are the 6 different languages. And you get also another document which talks about how you set up this device with the Shelly app. But again, there's not going to be anything specific to this device. These are the same instructions that you would see for any other Shelly device. And actually, I haven't found anything in this documentation which would be really specific to this. So yeah, we are just getting the usual functionalities that you would expect with a Shelly. Of course, the difference here, there is no output. So it's basically just registering the inputs from the various switches. I have everything connected now, and as you can see, this is the Shelly with the 4, basically the 4 touch switch, no, sorry, not touch, this 4 gang switch. And here in the corner, you can also see a Shelly Duo. I've reviewed this Wi-Fi smart bulb from Shelly, and I think I'm just going to use this to set up a couple of different scenarios. And but before I do that, I think what I can do is I can show you how the whole unit looks like. Well, this is already connected to live, so I'm not going to poke around a lot. But as you can see, the wiring is very, very simple, and everything is actually labeled here. And because it only works on, it already says here, the AC 120 to 240, that this is the only wiring diagram. So neutral is connected here, live is connected here. So these are the 2 wires that go off to my mains voltage. And then basically you take the wires from the switch and then connect them. So the red goes to the second live terminal. And well, I just followed the documentation. So I connected the black, purple, or probably this is blue, and then green and white to the 4 switch terminals. So everything is neat, everything is clipped together. This unit is securely held in this socket. I think probably the only thing which is a little bit more difficult to sort of remove is this bezel, because that is also held by, you can't, you can probably see those, sorry, you can probably see those clips there. And it is really difficult to unclip them. I mean, if I want to do it now, I probably have to like force this away and also push on the back of these. So if it's mounted on a wall, I think you would really need a considerable force to remove this. But at least it has a lip, so you can actually grab onto it, and then you can pull it tight. And I think you can definitely pull this one, because as you can see, this is a really thick acrylic. So there is decent amount of material in here. I haven't configured anything yet, so nothing really works. But I think what we can do is we can go onto the website of the Shelly i4, and I think I'm going to use the website because it just makes it a little bit easier than on the phone, and you have a little bit more screen. but it is actually going to look exactly the same on the phone as well. So this is why I would do most of the configuration here. And what we are going to do first is I am going to quickly go through the settings. I don't want to go through all the settings because I'm doing this for all the Shelly devices, and that's just like 5-10 minutes from each of the video, and it's pretty much the same. The only thing I would say that I mean, I have this firmware version at the moment, so I was able to update it, but yeah, that's the the usual device settings. I have some network settings, the usual Wi-Fi, access point, the cloud option, and the Bluetooth. So the cloud option is enabled, so it is all these functions are available on my phone as well. And because it is the new Plus series, we also have some scripts available. So I'm not going to use, I wanted to use a script to do some extra functionality with the Shelly Duo, but I haven't managed to do that. So I haven't really figured out any useful scenarios with the scripts, but definitely you can get the various button pushes and other single click, double click, long press events in the script. So if you want to do some special stuff, you can definitely do it here. And also, if you go back to the main page and if you select any of the inputs, then you can configure whether that input is a switch or a button. So these are obviously buttons, and whether you want to invert that logic, and you can also change the channel name. But I think what we are going to use now is really to use the webhooks. And these are the options for you to set up direct communication between your switch and your end device, which is going to be the Shelly Duo in our case. And I've already collected some of the comments that we are going to use. So my Shelly Duo is sitting on this IP address at the moment, and as you can see, I can increase the brightness, which I'm going to bring it down, and I can change the color temperature as well. And I think the phone is going to auto, it's all on auto, sorry, not focus. Well, it is on autofocus as well, but everything is on auto, so you're not going to see an awful lot of change. Probably here you can see that it's, it's cooler now, and it's going to be much warmer now. So we will be able to control the Duo with these commands. So what I can do is, let's create one scenario where I'm going to use the first button to turn the light on and the other button to turn the light off. So this is the on button. Oh yeah, the only thing I haven't really figured out is which one is input 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to probably go with this is 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And we'll see if that's the correct order. So for switch 1, so turn off Duo, and so when the output is pushed, so again you can create these. So obviously you would use the on and off, and if you have a switch connected, and if you have a button connected, you would use just a push. So I can just do it on, and I go to switch 1, and then it's going to be turn off Duo, and the URL is the same, but the action is off. And I'm going to apply the webhook. And as you can see, you can restrict whether that webhook should work in, always or just a certain period of the time. So, okay, let's test. Oh, that was input 3. Oh, that's input 2. Okay, so it's the, I guess then the idea is that this logo is on the top. So let's pick this one. This is input 0. So now input 1 turns the lights off, and this one turns it on. Yeah, it works. And of course, you would be able to control multiple duos. So let's say you can, maybe use 3 buttons to turn them on, and maybe you can have a button that is going to turn all of them off. Because in the webhooks, you can add additional URLs. So again, you just list all your duos with their respective IP addresses. Of course, then remember that set an IP address manually, and you just switch them on and off. But what we can also do is, if you don't want to use 2 buttons to turn them on and off, we can also use, toggle. And for this, I don't need a second URL. I just only need the word toggle. So apply the webhook, and this we did it on the switch 1, which is, I think is this one. Yeah, and now that toggles the light. So this is great. Or for example, what you can do is you can use all four switches to toggle one of the lights, and then you can create another webhook to turn it off, which is going to be on long push, and that's going to be the URL. So the short press still toggles, and if I long press, then it's going to turn it off. So maybe you have like, you know, 4 lights, you are going to control them individually, and then you can configure this webhook to all 4 of them. So if you long press any of those buttons, then it's just going to turn off all your lights. And what we can also do is another scenario where we're going to use the first button to turn the duo off. So now it's going to be the, you know, the same for long press and the short press as well. And then for the others, I'm just going to have some presets for the various brightnesses. So input 1 and the webhook is going to be different. So that's going to be 25% brightness. And then on input 2, that's going to be 50% brightness. And so, sorry, that's 25, 50, okay. Yeah, let's do 100 here. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I meant to do it on simple pushes. So let me just go back to the other one as well, because yeah, I did it longer. It's weird that it remembers. I think in some cases it makes sense, because then, you know, if you are configuring it for the same device, then it remembers the IP. But yeah, anyway, so this is going to turn it on or not. Oh, that's going to turn it off. Yeah. Okay, I did something wrong. So the so I think what I should have done is I still use this toggle, because what happens if you just send a message to set to 25%, if the light is off, then it's not going to turn it on. So this is 25%, this is 50%, and this is 100%. And that's just going to toggle, so that's going to turn it off. But of course you can mix and match. So if I do end turn equals on, that means it's going to turn it on and turn it on at 25%. So if you do all these, then you know, each of them would turn on to their specific brightnesses respectively, and then maybe you can just reconfigure the first switch to just be turned off, so it will only always turn off. And of course it would remember the last setting. So if you just keep it on toggle, then that's going to turn it off. But let me turn it on, and let me set it to 100%. And if I turn it off, and if I turn it back on, it's going to come back on at 100%. And of course, if I switch it now to 25%, and as in the previous configuration, I've also added the command turn on, well, that's not going to make any difference because it's already on. So that's just going to reduce the brightness to 25%. So I think you can see that there is a lot of opportunities in these. You can really configure these 4 buttons any way you like. So you control one device, you control multiple devices. Maybe you can just, you know, 2 of them controls 2 lights, and the other one controls other 2 lights. And as you can see, you can use the multiple actions as well, and you can also use, you know, commands like brightness and, you know, turning on, toggling it. And by the way, in the Shelly documentation, you can see that these are the different commands that you can send in the URL. So it can be turn on and off toggle. It can be a timer, which runs a timer. Use the brightness. And if you want to change the color temperature or the white level, then you can use these two commands as well. So if temp equals, you can just specify the actual, color temperature. And you can also set, change the transition as well. I just left it on the default transition. And let me show you how it looks like in the app as well. I mean, if you want to use the app. So I put this into my test room, and then because it has 4 inputs, it comes through as 4 different devices. And if I press any of the buttons, then there is a small icon which says that, there was, input 1 or 2. And yeah, I mean, you see all the different options here. So whatever I've configured on the web is now available here as well. And then you have all the other settings here. And yeah, I mean, you have a few more settings that are specific to the application. So for example, you can put a pin lock, which you would be able to enter in the application. But then the rest of the things are pretty much the same what you see online as well. And once you are in the phone, you can also set up some automations. So this is the groups. So if I want to create a new rule, so I just click add scene, and okay, I'm going to just create a test scene. Okay, that's the image. Let's go to the next page. So in the when condition, I can select, well, trigger based, and I select the rule and I select the device. So I can pick any of the I4s or the various inputs of the I4. So if I pick the second switch, then again here I can create an automation as well, or a scene, but that scene is going to be in the cloud. So as long as you have the cloud enabled on the Shelly, that's going to work. So for example, if the button is short pushed, then I save the condition and I do something. And for example, I can do a device in the room, let's say the Duo, and then turn the device on and off, or turn it into a separate specific brightness. I can see the action delay as well. So pretty much what I could do using simple URLs and the webhooks, I can configure here in the app as well. And of course, if you have something like a Home Assistant where you want to integrate the Shelly into, then you don't really have to do any of this configuration, because you can create all these rules in the Home Assistant as well. I think that would be my review of the Shelly i4 4-channel input switch. If you are interested in this product, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description, but I think that would be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.